Hi folks, I'm Craig Taylor, and as always a huge thanks for joining me here on my YouTube channel, the Bushcraft Padawan. When I first started getting involved in this whole bushcraft world, there was lots that I didn't know, and there still is. There was one thing I was acutely aware of though, and that was the dangers and foolishness of messing around with ill-identified fungi, mushrooms, whatever you want to call them, particularly if you were looking at eating or drinking them. So I kind of ignored the whole subject for about a year or 18 months, and then I came to realise that in actual fact some fungi can have incredible bushcraft uses even without thinking about putting them anywhere near your mouth to eat or drink them. And one particular fungi is this, Daldinia Concentrica, to give it its scientific name, or cramp balls, or King Alfred's cakes as they're often referred to locally. So what I wanted to do in this video was to give you a rundown on what I've learnt about this fungi so far, give you a demonstration of what I've learnt, talk a little bit about how you can identify it and locate it, and hopefully break down any reservations that any of you might have around dealing with fungi. They don't have to be as dangerous as media might make out if you're not thinking about ingesting them. So join me in this video if you will. What's that? What? Yeah, good one. Is a fungi. First things first then, where can you find these? Well, I have fortunately got permission to use 3 or 4 woodlands in and around my local area, but it's only this woodland where I actually ever find these. And the reason that I only find these in this particular woodland that I'm stood in now is because this is the only woodland that has any, I believe, ash trees within them. The other woodlands that I use either don't have any, or they're so scarce that I just don't happen upon them when I'm out and about. So first things first, these tend to grow, in my experience and from what I've read, on dead or dying ash trees, Fraxinus excelsior. They also grow, I believe, on dead or dying beech trees, Phagus sylvatica. But to be perfectly honest, I've never found these on any beech trees myself. I have found them on dead or dying ash trees, which is why I've come to this woodland today, because it's absolutely teeming with ash trees, which means that it's absolutely teeming with dead or dying ash trees. So let's go and have a look for some. It's been quite remarkable walking to this spot. I've only walked 150, 200 metres, and looking for these, once you've got your eye in, once you know where to look and what you're looking for, you can't not see them. They're everywhere. They're on the floor, they're on the trees, they're on dead branches hanging down. My dog ran past me with a branch in her mouth, looked down, there was a little one on that. You literally cannot stop seeing them if you're in a decent colonised area, in my case lots of dead or dying ash trees. I've just found one here on this very dead branch that is kind of hanging in mid-air here. And you'll just notice one here, just my finger on the bottom of it. Now my eye caught this one because it's on the bottom of a branch, so therefore it is slightly more sheltered than anything that was on the top or the side of a branch from the damp conditions from any rain. But even as I'm peeling this off, yeah, it's come apart in my hands. Now clearly you can't really get a sense of the texture or the dampness of this, but that's very, very dry. You can see that a little critter has burrowed its way into there. Very, very dry. It's the powder substance that's coming off it here has a very damp nature to it. So I'm going to keep on, where am I? I'm going to keep on looking. I'm going to bear in mind though that looking at the bottom of a branch underneath a fallen log is probably going to give me a better chance of finding something than looking on the top or on the sides, where clearly it's more prone to being impacted by the rain. Let's keep looking. I think I'm in luck here. Just found this fallen log, could see lots of Daldinia Concentrica on the top and sides, but when I reached underneath I can also feel quite a few underneath the log, that feel just to the touch much drier, unsurprisingly, than those on the top of the log. So I'm going to pop one of these off and I want to give you a close-up of what the inside looks like. Trying to find the driest feeling one because I don't want to be taking these off just for the sake of it. Here we go, got one here. So that's just popped off. There we have it. If I pop this open, you may be able to see inside. Hopefully, let's try and get that a decent angle and some decent light on that. You may be able to see inside concentric circles. A little bit like a dartboard or an archery target. Concentric circles, Daldinia Concentrica. See the connection there? What I'm looking for in here is any sign of dampness, any burrows, any critters that have burrowed into it that have probably degraded the quality of the material inside. But to me that looks, it feels, I'm just holding it to my cheek and my nose to feel any dampness in there, any colours. That looks and feels okay. There's the whole fungi there as it broke apart. The reason that I've split it open like this is one, to show you the circles inside, but two, personally I find that dropping a spark onto the inside, onto those concentric circles, you stand a much better chance of initiating an ember than dropping it onto the outside. And that's what I want to show you next. I want to talk about the value add that these fungi can bring from a firelighting perspective. For me, the biggest value add that they have is that once you've dropped a spark onto them and they're smouldering, they smoulder for a very long time. Now the bigger the fungi, the bigger the Daldinia Concentrica, the longer it will smoulder for, because clearly it is consuming itself, but it smoulders for a very long time. In fact, before I came out to record this video today, yesterday lunchtime I actually dropped a spark onto some Daldinia Concentrica that I had at home in the garage, and I timed it, and it smouldered for about 40 minutes. In fact, you can see on the screen now my watch next to the smouldering Concentrica as it was sort of it almost consumed itself fully there, but it had been smouldering for 40 minutes. When they smoulder, when they burn very hot. The amount of heat that they give off compared to the size that they are is quite remarkable. For me, the value add of this is that unlike birch bark shavings, unlike downy seed heads, things like that, where they catch a light very quickly but they burn very quickly, you need to be fast. With these you've got much more time to be able to take that ember and blow it into flame or to ignite something else. And of course, because they smoulder for a long time, you could take a piece of Daldinia Concentrica, you could set light to it from an established fire and potentially move quite some distance, 40 minutes away. If we go by the piece of the experiment I did yesterday, you could move some distance away and still have that glowing ember with you to initiate another fire 40 minutes away also. So for me, their long burn time is the big value add for me that Daldinia Concentrica brings to the fire starting party. Let's have a look then at dropping a spark onto that Daldinia Concentrica and seeing how it smoulders, seeing how it burns, seeing how that burn rate grows and steadily consumes itself throughout the fungi itself. Split up. I've got my Barco Laplander saw, got my ferro rod, and I'm just going to try and drop a spark onto these two. I've placed them nice and close together, increasing the likelihood of a spark dropping on one of them, and let's look at that burn rate. There we go, fairly quickly. Now, I talked about the burn rate of this. I came into these very woods back in the summer of this year, 2018. It was a very warm, humid evening. It had been raining the day before. The woods were very humid. There were lots of mosquitoes out and about, and I decided to come out without any mosquito repellent. So what I did was I actually got a decent sized piece of Daldinia Concentrica, dropped a spark onto it, held it between two forks of wood, almost like two tongs if you like, and as you may notice here, hopefully if I hold that a little bit closer to camera, apologies for the panting, I'm not getting overexcited, it's the dog in the background. You may be able to see that that is smoking quite well, and it's getting very, very hot already. It doesn't look hot, does it? You can't really see anything glowing there, but trust me, it's getting very, very hot to hold. It's also smoking, and that smoke is very, very acrid. It smells very, very bad, and it keeps the mosquitoes away. So I was able to walk around these woods for about 30 or 40 minutes that evening with the dog, wafting one of these around at the end of a pair of tongs of wood, looking like some sort of mad pagan ritual, and was able to prevent myself from getting bitten. You could now picture a scene, couldn't you, where I can take this, drop it into a bird's nest tinder bundle, blow it into flame relatively quickly. Yeah, I'm going to have to put that down because it's getting very, very hot. What I could also do is I could take the second piece, which actually didn't ignite when I dropped a spark onto it. I could hold that to it, and you'll now notice that that second piece, ouch, so I now have two pieces of Daldinia Concentrica smouldering away there, giving off that lovely pungent aroma. There we have it, folks, a fairly short, sharp video today all about my new best friend, Daldinia Concentrica. Just to recap then, dead or dying ash trees are where I've had all of my success, and although you can't see 360 around me, there's a lot of dead or dying ash trees here. Been a lot of storms recently, a lot of downed limbs. This stuff's going crazy. It can also be found on dead or dying beech trees, I'm led to believe, but I've never personally had any experience of that. When looking for these, try and find the ones that are black as opposed to the ones that are a brownish colour. The brownish colour are likely to be this year's fungi. They'll need to be in best condition, go through another year's cycle, so next year when they've turned black they would probably be in better condition. Don't take more than you need, just take enough to have a little experiment with, get your fire going. Don't harvest them en masse because they can take a fair amount of time to grow, and clearly we don't want to be damaging the ecosystem more than we really want to or need to. Break them apart, look at that concentric circle inside, get a feeling, get an idea for how those circles are formed and what they look like internally. Practice dropping a spark onto it, practice blowing onto it, getting that heat and that ignition to spread throughout the fungi itself. Try lighting another piece of fungi from it. When you've done all that, drop it into a bird's nest, practice blowing it into flames. These are a lot of fun. It's very good to know that not all fungi, from bushcraft purposes, need to be considered about being ingested, be eaten or drunk or anything like that, and that actually you can get a fair amount of usage, not just from this but other fungi as well, for other purposes, including, as I've referred to in this video, firelighting. So my little challenge to you is, if you live in a part of the world where these are prevalent, get out, find yourself one. Have an experiment with it, see how you get on, let me know in the comments below. As always, a huge thank you for watching the video. For those of you that are subscribers, can't thank you enough. For those of you that are not, in this corner of the screen throughout the video there's been a subscribe button. Why not click on it and see what the next video is all about when it's published next week. If you've enjoyed watching the video, give it a thumbs up. If you think there's someone in your network that would value from watching this, then do feel free to click on that share button. You know what to do with it. Thanks as always for watching, folks. I'll see you next time. Cheers.